Welcome back. So here is the ADHD version. The entire video in a minute, just in case all you wanted to see was the rough steps of how I made this unique little knife. It's got everything. It has me almost melting through my quench cup. It has grinding. It has stickers. It has the back of my head, poorly focused and then refocused. More grinding. And just a little bit of the sharpest tip of anything that I have ever made. So there it is. That is the spoiler version. Let me know if you like that kind of thing. So this is supposed to be a grafting knife that my brother designed, and I made a little swoop so that your finger has a place to go, and it's just an all metal blade. The swoop is so that your fingy can't slip, and then all of a sudden you don't have a finger. So that is why it is designed the way it's designed. It has a little grip section on the back, and I am profiling the blade by starting with hacksawing. Hacksawing and hand filing are two things that I loathe and love all at the same time. Because if I can hacksaw big enough pieces away, I can figure out something to do with the scraps. Let me know what you would do with the scraps, other than throw them away, because, I mean, honestly, there's a growing pile of scraps that would all take an equal amount of time to turn into a knife, blade, pick, shiv, like, what have you. Especially this really long, thin piece. My brain was going crazy because the hacksaw doesn't have a deep enough throat to be able to cut really long distances, and I would have loved to have had just a long, slender piece of 1095. But that's okay, because I flawlessly removed it. Super flawlessly. Also, you're going to hear the sound of some new breathing protection that I have. I finally have what I would consider the correct mask with a little bit of research and help from a friend. It's something to protect you from 99.97% of dust. And honestly, I would like to keep my lungs and avoid silicosis. And seeing how as ventilation is somewhat poor in my shop, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get a couple of that. And it makes a very annoying noise if you're not wearing hearing protection, which I can hear very clearly now. Yeah, I tried to get the biggest piece out of that I could. I even went as far as to switch to a scroll saw. Not a scroll saw, it's the exact same as a hacksaw, but you use it for wood, and I'm completely blanking on what it's called. Neat. But, yeah, that also wasn't in the card. So, I got the biggest pieces off of it that I could before I went to the grinder. My hacksaw technique isn't too bad. My shoulder still hurts all the time. But this is about as far as I get. And then it's time to turn the rest into dust. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing either. So, I would like to show you my belt organization system. It's called the floor. It's on the list of things to do. Don't judge me. Don't judge me that much. You can judge me all you want. I don't give a shit. So, make sure that my platen and my surface rest are at roughly 90 degrees. And then just a bunch of 2x speed grinding. Fun fact about label printers. They do a really okay job at printing labels. Labels stick to things. Label printer paper / stickers turn black with heat, which is how they print. So you get to see the heat transfer of what the belt does to what changes the color of the ink, and It's just super neat. I like it. So I have a particular goal in mind, and that is to get the profile completely done, heat treat it, and then bevel it. Because this particular blade, the request was a chisel grind, and I rather like chisel grinds, but they tend to warp edges because there's just an uneven amount of steel on the multiple sides of the blade. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to get away with it without a belt grinder as it is. So I commit early to doing it, and that means that I need to get nice profile, and I need to get the jimping or the texture in the top of the back of the the top of the back of the thumb rest. Oh, as well as a little sharpening choil. I think it's called a choil. It's not a chode. That's something different and a little bit more vulgar. But a choil, I feel like, is somebody who sneezed and said hole at the same time. And they didn't want to correct themselves, so they said, yeah, that's a knife term, idiot. Anyway, it makes sharpening the knife easier. And seeing as how it's a chisel grind as it is, anything to make my brother's life just a smidge easier is okay with me. And this is the very, very first time I have ever taken a stroke with this file. And I almost had a stroke using it because I was so nervous. I got it for Christmas, I believe, 2 years ago, and this is the first time it's ever touched metal. I've tested it out on wood, but that doesn't particularly count. And it works. I probably should have practiced on something else, but I didn't. I went for it. And for what it's worth, it stays registers in its grooves. And for anybody that's yelling at me in their heads or out loud that I am just keeping it in the groove and not moving it up and down, I assure you I'm putting light pressure on the backstroke, and at the same time, it's my file, and I'll do absolutely whatever I want with it. And if it dies soon enough, in a couple of years, it can turn into a knife itself. So there's no losers in this, only steel. Also tried to give it a very, very light radius. I don't know how well it did, but an attempt was made. So I pour oil into what I find out very soon is not a steel cup. I get my oil nice and hot, and I realized that if I got the oil too hot by accident, the cup would just blurp apart. That does not happen. I'm so sorry. But I threatened to burn down my shop. I get the top past non-magnetic, and I hold it there for just a little bit. So I keep it hotter than non-magnetic for just a second or two longer than I would be comfortable with if this was a much, much hotter forge, and not just a couple of broken bricks lying down, which has no right to be as efficient as it is, by the way. And then we quench. And then a part of the blade that is not red hot just started to touch the edge, and you can see that it melted this, what I'm guessing is tin or pewter. Hell, it could be lead. I have no idea at this point. So, lesson learned. Didn't burn down my shop, didn't burn myself, didn't hurt anything. My ego, maybe $10 off the resale of the house in 30 years. It's all good. What I wanted happened. Heated oil and getting it to the right temperature gets you a hard blade. I feel like I've cut my teeth on 1095 at this point, and I am satisfied with this, like, fresh out of the quench. Back is still soft. Front is hard. We're good. Off camera, I did, what do you say, I did heat treat the back, because the back has a purpose, with the knife side being for what knives do. The back of it has a little pry bar section that you pry bark up with. So I heat treated the back, and I tempered the whole blade at 400 degrees for an hour and a half, and I wanted to get the pry section just a little bit softer. It's not like he's going to be prying apart, you know, plates of super glued steel or anything stupid. I don't even know why you would super glue steel, Adrian. But I do this for just a little bit of extra toughness and a little less hardness. The back isn't a blade, but it is something that is going to get reefed on just a little bit. So I wanted to be careful. Going very slow. Even sped up 400 times. And so I got it just around dark straw blue, and that's softer than what it was. So for me, that should be okay. Didn't do any damage to the business end, and now it's time for beveling and cleanup. Handy dandy little scribe job. Don't be gross. And a little bit more of a scribe. We got some scribing to do, and we got to get blue dicum everywhere. And if blue dicum isn't the absolute prettiest color, I don't know. It's just such a cool blue. So scribing's done. Those lines do not get followed. More spoilers. So I tried to freehand this. There were a significant number of sparks, and over time I realized that I'm going to need to put the plate back on to do the final grinding of this. So I switched to the blade side. I learned two things very quickly. What I wanted to happen and what was happening are two completely different things. I can't have the bevel angled with how I'm using the bevel guide. The bevel needs to be 90 degrees to the platen because I'm using the bevel guide as a guide, literally. So I shift the position, and I'm not showing you every time I dip it into the water, but I'm dipping it into the water all the damn time. Every time there's a cut, I've removed it. I've made sure it's not getting too hot. I keep my thumb on the back. If it ever gets too hot for my thumb, that means that I need to remove it from the grinder. And too hot for my thumb is around 180 to 200 degrees. Boiling temperature of water. It gets to that temperature pretty quick, but it won't ruin the temper of the blade unless it gets to around 400 to 450 degrees. Which, if I kept my thumb on that whole time, I'm not using that thumb for a month. So that is the security. You don't see me doing it here, but you see the water on there. Roughly the same timing. Into the water, onto the grinder, into the water, onto the grinder. Happy Valentine's Day, folks. Anyway, so the top one was a little more squirrely. I was less confident in it, but both the front of the blade and the top of the blade, I don't take all the way down to a zero edge. I keep them just a little bit thick because I'm going to be going through some other belts. Now, sticker time. Put stickers on your stuff. I know this is controversial, but I want to see art on the things that I make art with. And oh god damn it, I have to remember handles. Merdet, M-E-R-D-T, does those stickers. Jin the Strange does some of those stickers. There's one for radioactive resin art, and it's just really cool resin art. I'm talking about other people's stuff. They're not paying me. It's not an ad. They're my friends. Go look at art. Art's cool. So, as you can see, I use the platen to sort of true up the back. I know I don't have any good pictures of the back right now, but just, you can trust me that it looks better than it did. We're on a higher grit belt. We're doing some cleanup. This is the most nerve-wracking part for me because I'm not used to going through all the grits. It's what you're supposed to do. But I need to find this bevel relatively quickly. I can't keep it on there for too long. And the top bevel is not perfect, but the edge is getting much, much thinner. And lining up that the crisp line of the two bevels meeting to that singular point, I am paying very, very close attention to that the whole time. I clean the front, I clean the back, I pull out the structured abrasive belt. There you can see that there's a much more crisp line on the business end of the butt. And so from here on out, I'm just going up the grits. I don't make you watch the entire thing, because you don't need to. I keep drying it off so that it doesn't start rusting. We are in the danger zone for rust. I decided to do absolutely no hand sanding on it. This is going to be a garden tool. It's not going to have a patina, but I do end up waxing it. And I'm just going to... I got the... Oh, lordy, I forgot the word. I got the edge to, like, very close to being sharp. And then I put a secondary bevel on the top and on the front and call it a day. Diamond plates, both rough and extra fine. And then I finish it off on a my favorite combination stone, the hard side of the combination stone. It's 4,000 grit of something, and I use it to take care of the final polish on the blades. And that's, I mean, we're pretty much there. I'm not used to trying to respect people's time, so a video under 25 minutes is, I mean, this is 2 in a row, people. I'm borderline, like, I'm borderline a serialized TV program. Anyway, I'm not, and I will never be. But I strop it, and I'm still not great at cutting. But I do some practice cuts, and I'm noticing some really good things. And that the point of this thing is ridiculous. The single sharpest thing that I have ever made is the point of this knife. The rest of it is more than sharp enough to cut branches. I have some refining to do on the edge. It's either burr or some rougher spots, but the point, 2 things coming to a 0 point, and the secondary bevel being just that little bit extra. Ooh, gotta love the push cut. So, a little bit more refinement and a little bit more of this. It's just so cool. It's a little bit better for drag cutting. There's, I'm not trying to deceive anyone. It's not a perfect edge, but it is going to do garden work very, very nicely. I do some quality of life things for my brother, and I cleaned up I took off any burrs on the edges of the knife, so it's comfortable to handle, comfortable to hold. There's a Ghostbusters song in there somewhere, but it'll carve wood, it'll slice wood, it'll cut wood. And if you want to just like score something or use it to make like round, if you go around the radius of something, I think it'll work quite nicely. So I'm pretty pleased with this overall. I managed to ramble for 20 straight minutes. If you like that kind of thing, like, subscribe, all that other bullshit. And if things go well, I might have a bandsaw by the time there is another video. But there's that little pry bar section, doing pretty good. The blade section could be just a little prettier in some places, but I'm really overall pretty happy with it. It's very comfortable for being an all steel design. I almost put wood on it. But I decided against it. But anyway, Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a nice day, and bye.